Welcome, and thank you for tuning into Pickles Picks with the necromancer Necromedes the Thrice-Reborn and me, Pickles the Unicorn. This week we're covering Chapter 9 of Dune, timestamp 2 hours 44 minutes and 54 seconds through timestamp 2 hours 54 minutes and 30 seconds. We're sponsored by Epic Fantasy Novels on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
I am Necromedes the Thrice-Reborn, and I will correct all my familiars' numerous errors and misunderstandings. Thank you.
And that is what Necromedes does. This week we start out with a quote about the speed of Paul's learning. Once again, we're getting a quote from one of the writings of the priestess, from the Princess Irulan.
We don't know who that is, do we?
No, we don't know who that is. But she seems to be somebody who writes an awful lot, so I'd assume she's some sort of historian.
Makes sense.
And she talks about how some people don't even know they can learn, and the speed of Paul's learning was kind of predicted by the Bene Gesserits, but they were still surprised at how fast he learned things, as if the planet was made just for him.
It was enticing him. The room was made enticing him.
We start out with the room that's enticing him, and what we start out with is Paul, who is supposedly sleeping, but he's faking sleeping because he's palmed his sleeping pill.
And tricked his doctor and his mother, who's a Bene Gesserit.
I know. But, it's a basic kid trick. He wants to go out and exploring. Everybody else wants him to take a nap. He's going to pretend to take a nap and sneak out on his own. So we start out with Paul asleep in his bed in his new room, and the headboard is attached to the wall, and strangely enough, it's a fish and water. And you can do different things like poke the fish in the eye and the light turns on, or you can turn a knob and the heat turns up. But I found it really strange that they decided to go with a fish and water. Has there been any marine life on this planet ever?
Not that we've seen.
So we're just going to assume that all of this and everything was being imported from somewhere else.
Exactly.
Okay. So Paul is attracted to this room. He likes it. He decides to sleep here, and it is almost his downfall. Paul goes to look for a set of clothes so he can go on his little sneaking adventure. And as he's across the room, the headboard opens up and a hunter seeker comes out.
What is a hunter seeker?
A hunter seeker is a good question, because from what I understand, it's like a needle that floats in midair.
It's like 2.5 inches long.
Yeah, something like that, and it floats in midair, and somebody nearby has to be controlling it, and what it is doing is it's looking for Paul.
Mm-hmm. And it has limited sensory abilities, so it can only see motion.
Right. Which seems very primitive.
I suppose it's for stealth.
Yeah, entirely possible.
Remember, they don't have computers in the future.
They don't have computers, but we do have space travel.
Space travel with mentats. And guild navigators. They don't have computers.
Yeah, which is a very strange thing. So, as this is searching for Paul and Paul is doing his very best to hold still, Mapes comes in. And it hones in on her and goes for her, and as it does that, it gives him the opportunity to grab it and to smash it up against a door jamb and break it.
Mm.
Mapes is very centered on the fact that it was coming for her.
Because of the movement.
But she kind of, at least to me, it seems like She's just convinced it was coming for somebody. Yeah, it was there for Paul, but it would have come after anybody that just happened to be there, which I'm not entirely sure is the truth if it has a human operator. I mean, it could have gone after her as a mistake, but it wouldn't have gone after her just...
Well, it only can see blurry images.
Well, here's the thing. If the operator knew that somebody else was coming into Paul's room, because we don't know where this person was that was controlling this thing, is it automatic? Is it like a heat-seeking thing, or does it actually have to be operated that much by a person?
It's all controlled by a person, but they can only see movement. They can't see images very well.
Okay, so technically, if the person knew that Mapes came in, he could have just, decided to abort the mission, but that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about this. This must not be related to whoever's doing this attack must not know about Yui, because Yui's in the very next room, and he's the main traitor for the Harkonnens. Mm-hmm. What if he walked in there and they would have killed their own traitor?
Well, I mean, would they have really cared?
Well, they're depending on him to betray the house.
Well, how do we know he hasn't already?
I guess that's the point.
I mean, because we don't know what his plan is or what's going on.
Yeah, but you still want him alive until the treachery is done.
Yeah, I suppose so. So Mapes is coming in to tell Paul that Hawat's men are waiting for him and that his father wants to see him. And Paul wants them to immediately search for an operator, but Mapes is more interested in settling what she considers to be, what did she call it, a water debt?
Mm-hmm.
First, and she told Paul that she knows that there are plots to kill him in the castle and that the Fremen know about it.
Mm-hmm. Shadow Mapes had already warned of a traitor in their midst,
mm-hmm.
but she doesn't know who it is.
No, she doesn't know who it is, but it looks like that she's going to do her best to find out who it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how much information that really is, because it's kind of like they really knew that wandering into this situation, so she's kind of like Captain Obvious at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe she doesn't know that.
Possible. All speculation. What do you think?
She seems to me like, I mean, she's a servant, so she probably wouldn't know everything about everything that's going on. But I still think that it's pretty obvious that it's a Harkonnen trap to everybody that's on the planet.
Makes sense.
So, after she tells Paul that she's going to go and do her thing, do her investigation, he decides to get all of his things together and go out and join the men and go to look for his mother.
So it's a very short chapter.
It is a very short chapter, and his mother's somewhere in the weird room.
The weirding room.
The weirding room.
Which I don't know what that is.
We have no idea.
We have not been told. What do you think a weirding room would be?
I don't know. Maybe it's... It kind of, to me, sounds like it would have to do something with knowledge or interrogation or questioning or, psychic knowledge. I really don't know. It could just be a tea room.
We'll find out, I guess.
I guess we will.
Guess whatever goes in there is weird. So how do you like it? You got some excitement this chapter.
Yeah, we did get a little bit of excitement this chapter. I think Shout Out Mapes is a little pearl clutchy.
Well, she almost got killed.
Yeah, I know, but she just kind of is no matter what she's dealing with, she's kind of like that.
Well, she is so serious about life and death stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, she was about to kill Lady Jessica just a few minutes ago.
Yeah. So she's a very dramatic person, and I don't know. What would have happened if she would have killed Jessica?
I think a bunch of people would have been killed.
Yeah, but there was nobody there. How long would it have been till they caught her?
I don't think she would have fled. I think she would have just sit there and take you.
Entirely possible. Okay, so.
There's so many people near death in this whole place. So, what's your rating of the chapter?
My rating of the chapter is probably going to be 6.5.
Okay.
Just because.
Well, you don't like the action?
Well, I mean, there was action, but it was kind of melodramatic action. It was just somebody like wrestling a needle in the air.
Is that dramatic?
Well, see, needle? It makes me wonder because it seems like he's actually wrestling it out of the air. So what is holding this thing up? How is it actually propelling itself?
It said so, suspensor field.
Right, but how strong are those suspensor fields? I mean, they wouldn't really have to be that strong because it's only a needle.
Well, it does drive you through the flesh and then go through your nerves and finds your vital organs. So it's got to be a pretty good propulsional unit to go through flesh and bone.
Or just a sharp needle.
No, it's pretty powerful.
Okay.
That's how it kills people. I like that thing. I think I, as necromancer, would like something like that. Now, that's what I call a useful, powerful, familiar.
What?
As opposed to a useless one that just criticizes novels.
Hey!
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm more useful than a floating needle.
I had this little floating fly thing that would go right through people's skulls and burn their brains out. Now, that was a useful familiar. Now look what I'm stuck with. Okay. Want to wrap it up?
Yep. Okay, so, once again, this is Pickles and Necromedes, and what would you give the chapter?
10 out of 10. Like every other chapter. It's awesome. Each one's better than the next.
Alrighty. Well then, this is Necromedes and Pickles signing out. We will see you next time on Pickles Picks. And once again, we're sponsored by Epic Fantasy Novels on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Thank you, and see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.